The print, 4th of September 2023, Why India's strategic depth is insignificant, its borders stretch from Pakistan to China. The presence or lack of strategic depth is crucial in determining a nation's national security plan. It describes the separation between the Army's strength base regarding workforce, supplies, and resources and the front lines, also known as the Tactical Battle Area or TBA. The Communications Zone, or COMZ, is the area between the two traversed by the railroads and highways that serve as the lines of communication. The intermediate administrative and logistical components, including population centers, are located in this zone to support the forces in the TBA. The extent to which a nation can employ the tactic of trading space for time in the face of unfavorable circumstances depends on the depth of this zone and the value targets inside it. Strategic richness or lack thereof. When Germany initiated Operation Barbarossa against the Soviet Union in June 1941 during World War II, the Russians fully utilized their strategic depth to thwart the Germans' swift advances. After being forced to retreat, the Russians used a scorched earth strategy. They destroyed or set on fire everything that had military significance, including machinery, plants, and crops, depriving the Germans inside the COMZ of any food supply. Consequently, the German lines of communication, back towards their headquarters in the German heartland, continued to elongate until they were no longer feasible and finally collapsed under the harsh Russian winter. The Russians could recover, relaunch their industrial production, and prepare for a counteroffensive by trading space for time. But what happens to a nation that isn't large enough to have sufficient strategic depth? Then, it must glance over its shoulder to artificially generate that depth within the neighboring nation or kingdom. Chhatrapati Shivaji, the legendary Maratha warrior, was perhaps one of the first to use this tactic even before it was officially defined. In the face of the Mughal troops' overwhelming might, he would retreat to the neighboring state of Bijapur while still employing guerrilla warfare to harass them rather than engage in combat against overwhelming odds. Pakistan began to look to Afghanistan in the early 1980s to provide this strategic depth about India. This idea was initially expressed at their National Defense University, Islamabad. Their primary motivation for meddling in Afghanistan's domestic affairs is to install a Kabul regime that supports their goals. Their strategy does not appear to have succeeded, though, as the Taliban has demonstrated that they are not puppets, and the Western Front in Afghanistan is still unstable. Nevertheless, Pakistan's strategic calculations still include this scenario. What occurs when a nation lacks both a friendly neighbor and the luxury of strategic depth? When faced with a situation like this, one must build depth by occupying areas outside their borders. One example is Israel. Israel remained in control of the Sinai Peninsula after the Six-Day War of 1967 because it gave them the depth they needed to repel an unexpected Egyptian attack from the south. During the Yom Kippur War of 1973, this occupation proved advantageous for Israeli forces as they repelled Egyptian troops at the Mitla and Gidi crossings in Sinai. Even after the war, Israel maintained occupation of the Sinai until 1982, when it gave up control of the region by the terms of the 1979 Egypt-Israel peace accord. Similarly, Israel still controls the Golan Heights to the north, which it took from Syria during the Six-Day conflict. Furthermore, Israel occupies the west bank of the Jordan River, covering an area of roughly 5,800 square kilometers. This offers Israel the much-needed depth at its narrowest point, which is just approximately 15 kilometers broad from east to west. The issue of India returning vital passes taken from Pakistan leads to problems with gentlemanly conduct. India is fortunate to have a sizable landmass, and its key regions comprise essential cities, industrial hubs, and extensive road and rail networks. Nevertheless, many of these profitable targets are located in or near the TBA, which puts them at risk of being overwhelmed during the early phases of an enemy attack. It must, therefore, carefully consider how to adjust its policy in light of China to the north and Pakistan to the west, its possible opponents. In response to each of them, the operational approach would also alter in different areas of the border based on various variables, including the topography, the area's strategic significance, and the potential political fallout from any losses. Due to the lack of any natural resources, particularly water, we may be able to trade time for space on the Western Front by allowing the German onslaught to run out of steam in the desert region. But further north, that would not be the case. Significant population centers of political and religious importance, like Amritsar, must be protected at all costs. It is only a few kilometers from the international boundary and is easily within the enemy's long-range artillery firing range. India's reputation would suffer irreversible harm with its collapse on a national and international level. This meant that the military approaches to the two sectors, deserts and plains, would be very different. China unlawfully occupied Tibet in the 1950s, and India shared a border with Tibet spanning over 3,000 kilometers to the north. The tactics used to protect these borders in the northern, central, and eastern regions would also differ in this case. Following the 2020 Galwan conflict, the Indian Army and the People's Liberation Army have strengthened their positions. They are forward deployed, with neither side willing to give up any ground to the other. Important holy sites are located in the central sector, which borders Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. These sites must once again be fiercely guarded from the beginning. The eastern sector's regions of Tawang and Sikkim are comparable. If it were possible to trade space for time, it would be in eastern Arunachal Pradesh's other valleys. However, since China maintains that this region is a part of South Tibet, as evidenced by their official map released as recently as August 28, 2023, this choice must be used carefully. The simple fact is that, despite India's luxury of a sizable landmass, its strategic depth is primarily meaningless because of pressing internal demands. Hence, despite technical advancements, India would need to have enough soldiers on the ground to foil any preemptive surprise attacks. This will require forward deployment nearly everywhere.